What up, team? It's your boy MurderInc here. Today we're going to be talking about the Ultimate Death Knight Login Reward Champion, where you can use him to success. Listen, this is the hype right now. Everyone's getting this champion. You can go to any English in-game chat channel, any language in-game chat channel, and just scroll up and down and you will see all of the players getting Ultimate Death Knight. So with that being said, let's dive straight into the guide. Alright guys, so as we said, we are going to be talking about the new login champion. You log in for 7 days, you get Ultimate Death Knight. Really hyped champion, a lot that went around him. Initial feedback from his kit, he was okay. There was something missing from his passive. I do believe that, hasn't been added into the game. I don't think so. Whenever an ally is tagged, has a chance of 100% completely blocking one hit, decreasing the incoming damage to 0. This champion will receive that damage instead. The chance decreases to 50% if the attacker is a boss. However, it also works with debuffs. So they're going to hotfix that. They're going to add that into the game. Pretty big thing to not add to a tooltip, wouldn't you say? I would certainly say so. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go over the guy. I kind of already went over his skills in a previous video, so I'm not going to dive into the skills too much here, but we're going to see where you can use this champion because it's all about this passive here. This is big because lots of things in this game have single hit abilities, and the fact that this guy nullifies that on the target and transfers the damage to himself is pretty big, especially since he's a defense-based champion. We have very reputable base defense, 1421 HP, nothing to skim over either. 20,000 HP is very good for a defense-based champion. I can't tell you how many times we've seen 15,000, 16,000. It's just not enough, so they did a good job with this champion. So this video is going to cover like early game, mid game players, as well as very end game players, and of course the people in between. But there's going to be a use for Ultimate Death Knight no matter who you are, which is something that you couldn't have said before with the information we did in fact have about this guy. So of course, my account being endgame, I have him built for an endgame setting as far as the specific gear set, but the stat priority is going to remain the same here. So what did I do? We juiced him up with health, we juiced him up with defense, found something interesting about the defense here. Speed, we wanted relatively low here. Yes, he has a couple good skills that scale with defense. The shield isn't that big, spoiler alert, but the goal here is to make use of whatever set you are putting on this champion, and if you do have the stone skin gear, it's likely you're just going to take whatever you can get because the stone skin buff is insanely strong for literally everywhere. So right off the bat, the first thing I can tell you guys is this guy should be in everyone's 3 versus 3 arena team. He should just be in everyone's 3 versus 3 arena team. So I don't want to hear anyone saying there's no use for this champion straight to the vault. It's just not true, unfortunately. I don't know where you would get that. If your mega endgame have 3 copies of all of the best champions, you're still going to work this guy in, and I'll explain that a little bit later here. So first, let's start off with the early game here. The biggest threat to early game champions has never been AoE. AoE in the campaign, in early dungeons, those aren't the things that you have to worry about. It's the champions in the waves of dungeons that are one-shotting your team. Your carries, your revivers, your nukers, those are the champions you have to worry about. So by having someone like the Ultimate Death Knight, he alleviates all of that pressure from you. He also has value in his kit as well, because he's not just there to, he could just be there for some people as like a passive guy, but once again you have to remember is an 80% chance of placing attack down, which is big. You're not going to be facing too many legendary champions as far as dungeon farming goes, but in the campaign in the later stages you will see legendary champions, so you have another RNG factor on your side for sure that will apply that fear debuff as well as attack down. Now, should you book this champion? My opinion, no, don't book him. Unless you're crazy endgame and books don't matter and you're wailing, then you can book him, but 80% chance is already very respectable, and this isn't necessarily something that's going to make or break a lot of progression circumstances here. So having this on a 3-turn cooldown, having it 100% chance, I do not think this is worth the 4 books. As far as the A1 goes, 30% chance to provoke, very high baseline. Bringing it to 50 doesn't add a ton. The chance increasing to 55 or 75 for legendaries, again, not big enough to justify books here. Now the A3 that a lot of people kind of considered booking, this is a 5-turn cooldown, places the shield, continuous heal buff on all allies. This could be worth booking if you decide to use them in a certain aspect that I'm going to talk about next here, which is going to be Hydra. A lot of people, once they heard about the debuff change, they said, okay, this guy is now Hydra viable. The issue is the chance decreases to 50% if the attacker is a boss. So is he viable? Yes. Is he the next Shamail? No. It's not 100%. You would never bring just this guy in here to gamble that 50% chance of having a successful Hydra clear. However, if you're using someone with the perfect Veil buff that prevents the fear, there's going to be some downtime or overlap with their cooldowns. This is the perfect addition to your team to kind of get rid of bad luck and bad RNG. Ironically enough, with the 50% chance here that if one of your champions does outspeed the debuff, or it expires and the Head of Mischief steals a turn meter that it shouldn't have stolen and gets an extra turn here, now you have a chance to even things out with that 50% chance of giving you a relatively reasonable chance, 50-50, listen, everything's 50-50 if you think about it, of preventing that true fear from happening if you are going to AoE or you're provoked by the Head of Wrath, you put out an AoE A1 and then your champion gets feared. Now we have that opportunity to send it to the ultimate Death Knight instead. So this can for sure help a lot of people. The AoE attack down is going to be viable. Like we already said, the shield continuous heal is going to be viable as well. And he's a rather tanky champion. As far as the second passive, didn't need him. Listen, it is what it is. As far as a stall defense in arena goes, this will help. This will make it more annoying, I guess. Does he do anything besides this? No. If he had a revive, this would be 1,000 times better, but he doesn't. The aura's fantastic. Defense in all battles. Defense is usually a weak point for many people. Gearing, or it should be at least, because HP should be the priority, so that will even things out great. Provoke isn't going to work too well on bosses, obviously. However, for some bosses, it does work. Especially thinking about the Doom Tower boss, you can use him even though it's not the highest chance here, it's good enough to get by. So the first thing I want to do is kind of talk about what this looks like in reality. I know I'm explaining it, making it sound crazy, amazing. The first thing I thought about was going to be Spider. Spider is something where we have lots of single target hits and then one AoE hit, so just for curiosity's sake and to kind of explain the point while showing you a physical example, we're going to throw this guy into the Spider, make sure there's no increased speed here. There isn't. Perfect. Let's start. I'm not sure how this is going to go. I don't even know why I threw Rotos in here. Probably just because it's Rotos. So we're on 1 speed here. Let's look at the damage we take. And of course, Kaimar opens with the turn meter. That was a bit of a mistake, but it is what it is. Okay, so he's opening with the attack down, which helps. Now they're all CC'd, and now he's taking all the damage, and you can kind of see the benefit right now to how strong Stone Skin is. They would have to attack so many times to burn through this Stone Skin shield set, all of these spiderlings. And if you've ever done this before, you know how hard all of this stuff hits here. Now he's going to practically full heal and consume everything, so this is not a team you should ever consider copying, but everything remains the same as far as the point of this team here. If you can figure out a way to work him into your spider team, he's going to add a huge layer of defense for sure. That is one goofy run in A1. I've never noticed that before, but I have now, so I'm glad I did this. So with that being said, this is the basic point here. Now we're CCing all of the spiderlings, so I don't even think when I do these things, this definitely wasn't the greatest example here, but the concept is going to remain the same here. When you're progressing through Spider, the fact you get this guy after 7 days, a big issue is going to be the spiderlings. Now, are you going to have a Crypt King Grawl to kind of destroy the boss like this? Probably not. However, this is going to take away a lot of pressure outside of the fact that he's getting the poison debuff as well. So this is where you can kind of see the transferring of debuffs from these targets here. Now, one thing to keep in mind for sure is going to be that if you don't give him enough resistance, he's going to naturally die. He being Ultimate Death Knight, of course, he's just going to naturally die from the poisons because he doesn't have the greatest sustain. So if you're not going to use Stone Skin gear, which you probably don't need, to be honest with you, on a spider run, if your team's built properly, you want to give him something like a regen gear. I probably wouldn't do Relentless gear, but the fact that his passive has no cooldown makes it extremely strong and will give your team, like I said already 2 or 3 times, the additional push to get through those brutal spider stages early on. I've gone through it on this main account, of course, but I've also gone through it on the other accounts, free-to-play challenge, rare champion and under challenge only. I know the struggle of spider early on if you don't pull a good champion. Ultimate Death Knight's here to alleviate some of that pain. So based on that example, that's going to apply to every single dungeon. Faction wars, of course, that's going to help as well. It's very unlikely when I click on this, it's going to be the proper faction war, but if you do recall for undead, there's a very hard-hitting single target throughout that crypt there, so Ultimate Death Knight can be the key to your success because revivers for undead, they're not the most common, right? Yes, there are a few, but if you don't have them, you kind of feel out of luck, I guess is the right word. Now you take a lot of pressure off by having Ultimate Death Knight into making more realistic teams for you. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is going to be Arena. This is where he's going to be really good for some players and really bad for others depending on where you are in your arena rank. If you looked at his passive, it says it doesn't work against ally attack. What's the most popular ally attack team in the game? The Blender. Shout out to Friday, the inventor. Friday's a player name who invented the Blender. I don't know, 2018, 2019. He quit rather early on into the game, but brilliant mind. Wish we could have still had him here today. So we're going to showcase a team like this. Perfect example. Duchess, Rhodos, Siphi, of course, being the power couple there. Rhodos is doing all the damage. He's single target against 2 heavy hitting Mountain Kings, right? Bad affinity, so I'm in trouble here, but we have Ultimate Death Knight. Let's see what he can do in this and why, depending on where you are in the arena, this is going to be very strong for you. So let's put that increased defense on. I'll also be able to show you the shield values that we are going to get. Look at that. That would have done significant damage, pending, granted, if that was a crit at least, to Duchess, but we just took nothing here. So unfortunately, we're one-shotting all of them with Rhodos. Okay, that was a crit, you could tell by the animation. She took no damage. His Stone Skin's, I don't know, 75% healthy, 80% healthy. So it is what it is. We're going to see if we can get hit a couple more times here. And now we're going to use the shield just to see. I have a lot of defense. I think we have 6.6 thousand defense on this guy, plus defense up, and the shield's kind of underwhelming. So as far as the defense stacking aspect of this, personal advice, go for 3,000, 4,000 defense, and then put it straight into health. After 4,000 defense, you have diminishing returns unless you have something that stacks, like this shield, for example. However, the multiplier is just not that great from what I can see here. Maybe this ends up being enough health for where it can be worth it for you as the player, but for me personally, seeing these numbers here, I'm just simply not impressed by any of this. Once again, my team has taken no damage to any of their health pool. Only Stone Skin has taken damage from this point on. We did have the AoE from Sir Nicholas, which definitely is the point here. Now, weak affinity against this guy, doing nothing. So you can kind of see the strength here. Is he going to be meta changing for the endgame players, kind of shifting away from the early? Listen, as much as I'd love to say yes, the best players in the game are only playing Arena, right? With that being said, it's really hard to have a champion come in and shake things up so much to where no one knows how to react. There are very smart players that play this game every day. They only care about Arena as it is. So that's one huge thing to consider here. We got lucky with the crit on weak affinity, which is nice, and we cleared the team perfect. So is this guy going to be meta changing? No, he's going to be meta altering slightly. If you see an Ultimate Death Knight in the defense, you can't bring your typical team. Rhodos loses a lot of value, but then again, the issue becomes, what if we just target down your Ultimate Death Knight? then it's not looking too good. Yes, you have Stone Skin, but Stone Skin only lasts for 2 turns, and it's really easy to play around that. If you've been in Platinum, if you've been pushing in Platinum, you've been playing around Stone Skin for quite some time. So what champions lose value? First champion that loses a lot of value is going to be Trunda Gilt Mallet. Why Trunda Gilt Mallet? Her A2 has been bugged, which is why she is, among other reasons, extremely overpowered in the arena. So, I mean, I guess we can fight it just to kind of see here, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. We have to kind of wait it out for the first AoE to come out so we make sure we don't CC them, which is why I brought Duchess here, to add that additional layer of protection, I guess. And who's even worth killing? I guess we'll go for the Duchess first, and we'll go for Tormund. Okay, we want to make sure Trunda gets 2 turns here. That's the main goal. I guess we just throw the shield up. Okay, so the first one, everyone takes damage. We know that. That we already know. No need to dive into that. It's an AoE. Ultimate Death Knight does not block AoE, so it is what it is. It's the next skills that are more important here. When she uses her A2 next, hopefully, based on her AI, hopefully it's smart enough to do that. And now let's watch here. Let's put on 1x speed. Let's go ahead and just provoke this one. Resisted, whatever. It's A1 here. Alright, Trunda, use that A2 ability. Okay, so we took very little damage from that. So perfect example of what I just said. The first splash hit is going to be registered as a single target ability, which is kind of the bug, which was on, I'm pretty sure, Rhodos based on his health, and we saw that it essentially did no damage, greatly reducing the viability of Trunda in this specific circumstance. Is it enough to kill Trunda? No. Definitely not. Hopefully you didn't think I was going there. Trunda's way too strong to be hindered by something like this, because had that damage been placed on Ultimate Death Knight, despite him being red affinity, he's in trouble. Or you can even carefully place and time this ability to where you're using it in the extra hits going at Ultimate Death Knight himself, so it's not blocked or hindered by anybody. Outside of Trunda being an example here, let's just go ahead quickly, put this on 2x speed and finish this off. That's good. What else has a condition similar to this? The new champion that many people are using. That's not currently on this list. Maybe we refresh again for it. And okay, he's nowhere to be found. So the next champion we're going to be talking about, I'll just go to him since I don't have him, I believe is a Knight Revenant. And it's going to be not a Knight Revenant. I'm trolling. Just kidding. What even is he? He's not an undead. One moment, please. He is not a Dark Elf. He's going to be a Demon Spawn, because of course I knew that straight off the bat. Hefrak. Hefrak's very strong, but has the same interactions as Trunda. Attacks all enemies, places an extra hit on targets with less than 50% HP. What does that mean? Extra hit is single target. How are we doing that? So, Ultimate Death Knight pops off against 2 of the big issues, I guess, in the arena. Trunda way more so than Hefrak, but Hefrak can be a problem once you start facing +4s for the 50 people that are facing +4 Hefraks. So we do have that to our advantage here for a free champion that can definitely dampen the load off of a champion like this that we're causing a few people, like I said, 50 or so, some issues higher up in the arena here. So he's going to be the saving grace in that case. Like I said, if you do any type of 3v3, I don't even know why they call it tag arena, but it is what it is. You should be seeing at least one Ultimate Death Knight in every single 3v3 team, because it's going to be good. Now, if you're not watching this video, you might get the short end of the stick. Maybe you're just smart enough to figure it out. But if you ever see a 3v3 team with Ultimate Death Knight in there, just bring a blender. You're going to one-shot it quite easily. However, lots of players aren't going to be able to think like that, or they're not going to understand that straight out the gate. Maybe once they get farmed 10, 15 times and have 100% loss rate, they're just going to swap Ultimate Death Knight out and say he's not good. But it does force a player to use their ally attack team on the Ultimate Death Knight team, so you can definitely play around in your mind with what you can use, what you may not want to use in that team, saving champions to really beef up the other 2 teams, because most players put their fastest champion in a kind of speed blender team. So even though it can be easily countered, you're taking off one entire team from the enemy team as far as what they're going to use against you. So the odds are definitely in your favor when having Ultimate Death Knight. The last thing we're going to talk about is going to be the Masteries for this champion. Personally, I wouldn't master him at all. I know some players are going to be using him for decently big progression here, but okay, I guess I'm on champion skills, so I have to go to the actual champion page here. I can kind of give you the rundown of what I would do if I were to master him, but like I said, I wouldn't master him because I don't see the purpose in it. Surely he's red affinity, and okay. So here he is. So like I said, have no masteries here. What's ideal to take? You don't need anything like bulwark because he's going to be taking a ton of damage as it is here. If you're in a progression setting, I would go with War Master. I would go with the defense tree. Pretty much build him like you would a clan boss champion, where you go deadly precision and then you go kind of like to the left and then straight down. And then outside of that, you would start tough skin, you would go blast proof, then you would start resurgent, go in a straight line down, bang a right to retribution talent, and you can end it off with deterrence there, giving you more changes to provoke with that A1, especially if it's a legendary target. As far as the support tree, I think the support tree is really bad, especially in survivability. If you've ever compared the benefits you get from defense to support tree, defense is miles ahead of the support tree. If you're lacking accuracy and you really want that attack down on this champion, go ahead, go for this. Take the proper accuracy nodes here. I wouldn't do too much as far as boosting his turn meter with debuffs because you do want him relatively slow, making sure he's getting the maximum value of his passives, stone skin gear, swift parry gear, anything you deem viable for this champion. If you're running something like regen gear, that's where you can consider not running this champion insanely slow, and then it might make sense to take something like Arcane Celerity, but still I would always recommend going offense and defense tree. Unless you're not doing the dungeon format, then a mix of defense and support tree. As far as what to take here, it's kind of hard to tell. Max HP is very strong, especially in the arena. If you're going a resistance build, you can of course head down to Unshakable here. So there's tons and tons of variations of masteries you can take. So for me to pick one and say this is the guideline for arena, PvP, this is the guideline for all dungeons, I would be doing a disservice because it just doesn't make sense that way. On top of that, the other thing, kind of like I said, what makes it such a good champion, requires no masteries and requires no legendary books to get good value out of him. Of course, anytime you book any champion and master any champion, you're getting increased value, but this guy simply doesn't need it. So that's going to conclude this video. Let me know where you plan on using this champion. Let me know what you think of him so far. Have you figured out a place that I haven't already thought of as far as where you can use the Ultimate Death Knight? Let me know in the comments. As always, thank you for watching this. If you enjoyed this content, smash that like button, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you're notified when I upload my next video, and I will see you all in the next upload.